the factor that hit me as I was going through it, and I wanted to clarify this, when I talked about that I share these emotional experiences and I share the spiritual part, it became clear to me at one point in my life, and I tell this story in the book, that there's a distinction between emotionality and spirituality, to being moved spiritually, to being moved emotionally. And they're interconnected, but there's some distinctions. And the way I can tell it is to illustrate it. And I share this in the book. When my daughter passed away in 1997, my youngest daughter passed away when she was 19 years old, and I was emotionally devastated. My wife was emotionally devastated. But we accepted it spiritually because we knew she was all right. We were absolutely fine spiritually, but emotionally devastated. And it was clear. It was almost like two things were happening to us at once. We felt like she's in a better place, she's happier, and then we're going crazy inside. And still, to this day, it's painful. But it was spirituality and the ability to tap something higher, to be able to say, I know she's in a better place, to be able to transcend some of that pain. I couldn't work through it. I had to transcend it. I had to go to another place. I had to have another vantage point about the way I was seeing my daughter's passing. Because if I was dealing with it on an emotional level constantly, I was just in turmoil. So I had to transcend. It was spirituality. It was prayer. It was lifting myself to another place that allowed that to happen. So I became very clear on the difference between spirituality and emotionality. And I feel, and one of the things I read in the book is I think that it is emotionally impossible and spiritually possible to solve the race problem. Because I say that our emotions around race have been hijacked by the pain and by the suffering. And we're triggered. We're constantly triggered. Our emotions are triggered and we respond to each other in these knee-jerk ways because there's so much pain, and we keep staying in that pain and trying to deal with it through that pain. And what I found in myself, the way I have to deal with it, I can't deal with it on that level. So when I look at a white person as an example, when I come into contact with a white person, my first instinct, and this is just honest, is to be suspicious, right? It's to be, because my emotional experiences, my patterns with many white people have, for a period of time, has indicated that sooner or later they're going to demonstrate some kind of prejudice. So on an emotional level, you know, if I'm just responding emotionally, I'm going to just have that suspicion constantly. But if I start to say, all right, I need to look at this person individually, really as a creation of God, as somebody who may be imperfect, but I want to see the good in that person. I want to reflect the good, and I want to open my heart to this person on a spiritual basis as another human being. Now, to get there, I have to be prayerful, I have to meditate, and I have to take myself to that place where I can look at a person. And it's not, there's no magic to this spirituality. It's a conscious choice. And so then I can look at that person as an individual, and I can just talk to that person as an individual and not have all that suspicion. Now that doesn't mean it all goes away. It just means that I'm on a higher level of operating. And that's a simple example, but there's many other examples where I've had to apply this whole thing of spirituality. So in the book, I make a distinction. If we keep dealing with this emotionally and don't take ourselves to that other place, we're on it's almost like another level of consciousness about how we see other human beings. If we aren't able to do that, I don't think we're going to be able to solve the problem at all.
Phrase that you used at the beginning of that, emotional.
I think it's emotionally impossible and spiritually possible to solve issues around race.